This song just came in my mind. Free your mind and the rest will follow. Be colorblind, don't be so shallow. Wow. You know, I've had conversations with people all over the world. Nigeria, Africa, Canada, Australia, Mexico, you know, and I like to talk about culture, and I like to talk about their government and the freedoms, and you know, the different things that we take for granted here, you know, like having lights all day long, having running water, you know, stuff like that. I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine over in Nigeria, and like their lights, you know, it's crazy because their lights don't stay on all the time. They have rolling electricity. So one of the things I asked was, how do they keep their food cold and stuff like that when the lights are not out? Well, they have to buy gas to run their generators. Something I never knew before, you know. But we were talking about some things that are in the news right now. And I don't usually get into watching the news, but he likes to try to keep me informed on things that are going on around the world because he's genuinely curious about why things are happening the way they are and why people aren't putting a stop to some of this stuff that's going on. And the topic was SA, assaults and things like that. And he was like, why is it so prevalent in America? Why are there so many white people being assaulted like that? And they don't really have that happen that much over there. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't really know the answer to that. But I'm open-minded enough to have those types of conversations with people, you know, because you don't really know what someone's been through unless you ask, right? And I don't know if anybody ever watches my videos, but you know, I've been through a lot of stuff. So I am very well versed in trauma because I've been through a lot of trauma. I've been through those things. And so I feel like, you know, I can teach on it because I've been through it. And, but it was like, it opened my mind to think differently. I've never had anything against any different colors. I love people the same. We all bleed the same. There are rotten people in every race. And just because people are rich doesn't make them better. You know, I'm very neutral on that because I've seen some really rotten people that have a lot of money that do some really bad things, and I've seen very poor people that are some of the best people that I've ever met, and of different colors and races. And I've also been stereotyped, and I've also been someone that was ostracized for being white in a Spanish community that I never did anything to. But I was never accepted into this said community. And so I finally just asked a couple of the girls, what is it about me that you don't like? And they just flat out said, it's because you're white. And I'm like, wow. I didn't realize that racism was still that deep. So that opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. And I remember I went home crying a couple times from that group because in that gym, because I've always been nice to everybody. I give everybody a chance. And as long as they're respectful to me, I'm respectful to them. And even when they're not, I'm still nice to them because I want to be treated that way. So that's how I treat people. And that's the way it should be. We should not we should be colorblind. We definitely should be colorblind. There's enough anger and there's enough resentment in the world that we don't need to come against each other because of our colors and our races, you know. I know this has been something that's always been heavy on my heart. Even growing up, I was kind of detoured away from hanging out with certain races and things like that, and I didn't like that because I believe everybody deserves a chance. And if they're contributing to society and they're doing the right thing, then they should have equal opportunities, just like we do. You know, the things that we take for granted because we have a different colored skin, you know. So free your mind and the rest will follow. Be colorblind. Don't be so shallow. I don't know who needed to hear that, but love your neighbor as yourself. And if you don't love yourself, maybe you should. Yeah, maybe you should. Love you guys. Have a good night.